How's it going? How's it going? Back with the financial gallery. I've been preparing this topic for such a long time, and I kept telling myself that I felt like I needed the perfect presentation, but I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna wing it, and then if I need to follow up or change things, then I will. So today, I wanted to talk about what is money. So first, I think it's important for us to look at money as a technology, right? Rather than something that, somebody tells us or that the government tells us, right? Like, oh, if we, if money, if we all think something is money, then it's money, right? That's partially true, right? But the problem is there's a physical reality to that, right? If I want to ride a banana off the side of a cliff, right, I can say it's an airplane or, some type of flying vehicle, all I want. The physical reality is I'm going to crash, right? If I think I can breathe in space, right, I can believe all I want, but there's a physical reality, right? Physics actually matters. Like, we forget this, right? There's an actual limit that, that the universe imposes on us, right? I think that's a good, good topic to know at first. So yeah, ChatGPT, what properties money should have, right? So, and here we go. Um, right? A unit of account. It should provide a standard measure for pricing goods and services, right? So I'm at a pizza shop. I go to the store and it says, "Yo, this piece is $2," right? It doesn't say it's 8 walnuts, right? So that's why we don't use walnuts as money, right? It's just not. It's not the way things are measured, right? Medium of exchange. I should be able to take my money and exchange it directly for pizza, right? That's very important. For a lot of efficiency reasons. It should maintain its value, right? It should maintain its value over time. If I'm a pizza parlor and I'm exchanging my valuable pizza for some money, right? That money should maintain itself, right? So we'll get back to that, right? But it should retain its value over time, right? It should be divisible. If I hand them a 20 and my bill is $5, I should be able to get change back, right? Because otherwise, then again, the inefficiencies, right? You lose value over time. And those four are truly the most important to me, but we'll go through the 10, right? Standard of deferred payment, right? It can be used to settle debts that are paid in the future, right? That's just important for us because that's how our society works. Is it liquid, right? Can I, exchange it for things? Can I buy it and sell it, right? Is there a lot of people that participate in the market, right? Like a vintage T-shirt you had 20 years ago is probably not that liquid. There's probably not a big market for it, right? Is it easy to carry, right? Is it portable? The money we use is, pretty portable, right? Is it durable? Is it resistant to physical wear and tear, right? Is it gonna rot over time? And lastly, right, is it fungible? Right. So essentially what this means is, $1 is $1, right? There's no $1 that's more valuable than another dollar, right? Like, but that's different for something like sneakers, right? The Jordans that Michael Jordan wore in his last game are going to be more valuable than the ones that are, fresh off the shelf or used by somebody who's not as important, right? Or not as valuable. I don't want to say important, right? Is it recognizable, right? If I've never seen your money before, chances are I'm probably not going to accept it, right? So taking these, right, let's compare this to the US dollar and ignore these lines aside of me for a second. Is it a unit of account, right? That pizza parlor, the things are priced in dollars. They're not priced in walnuts, right? And I can exchange my US dollars for the pizza, right? So that's a good medium of exchange, right? But store value. When that pizza parlor gets his money, can he keep that money and store it over time? Will it actually maintain its value? Depends who you ask, right? But the answer there is moderate. Is it divisible? Yes, I can get change, right? I can use it to pay debts in the future. It's liquid, right? We all have the dollar, right? It's the global reserve currency, quote unquote, right? It's portable. I Apple paid the guy, so I just had to bring my smartphone, right? It doesn't cost $10 for me to pay, or £10. There's a way £10 for me to pay somebody. Is it durable, right? Then again, the money was on my phone, so it doesn't really rot or have any physical capabilities or limits. Is it fungible? Yeah. Then again, $1 equals $1, and is it recognizable? Yes. The pizza parlor accepted my Apple Pay, right? So now, let's go through the mental exercise of looking at something like gold, right? We can say, oh, if we want to use gold as money, then we'll do it. Yes, that's true, right? But we'll have inefficiencies, right? Because then again, now gold isn't, priced in things, right? It didn't cost half an ounce for a slice of pizza, but we could, right? Effectively, we could, right? Is it a good medium of exchange? Can I exchange my gold, for the slice of pizza, right? It's like, that's kind of hard, right? That's kind of hard, right? But gold does maintain its value over time, right? You know, that's just based on a lot of research. Is it divisible? Then again, depends who you ask, right? Um, if I ask the smelter, like, yeah, it's divisible. But if you ask, 14-year-old kid, is gonna be like, I don't know how to melt gold, dude. Is it liquid? Right? Yeah, gold's pretty liquid. The market, I think, is worth about $17 trillion. So that's pretty good there. Then again, is it portable? Then again, depends who you ask. How much gold do you have? Where are you going? Like, yeah, I can bring my gold coin to my neighbor's house, but could I bring 50 pounds of gold on an airplane? Maybe not, right? Is it durable? Gold is very durable, right? It maintains its physical properties over time. It doesn't rot like, some grass would. Like, if we all wanted to use grass as money, that's fine, but all of our savings might, rot in a week, right? So what's the physical reality of that, right? We'll all be poor, right? That's a great recession. Is it fungible? Yeah, 1 ounce equals 1 ounce. It's pretty, 1 ounce in Miami effectively should be worth the same amount of, same amount for an ounce in Kansas, for example. Is it recognizable? Yeah, gold's pretty recognizable. Um, it's not like, gold is similar to like palladium or something like that. Like, who knows? Like, I don't even know why I know what that is. And lastly, I just want to, look at this for just for the mental exercise, right? Is real estate money? If we all wanted to use real estate as money, could be, right? We can do whatever we want, but then again, there's a physical reality that's gonna come into place, right? So as a unit of account, no, but that could change. The pizza parlor can say, okay, I want 0.00005% of your house for the slice of pizza, right? Then again, the medium exchange, that could change. He could accept 0.0005% of my house, but he's probably not, right? He's probably not. That's not going to happen. Not because, not only because it's impossible, two, he doesn't want to, right? But real estate does maintain its value over time, right? You know, I think we all know that. And here's the issue why it can't be unit account and medium exchange. It's not divisible. How do I sell 0.005% of my house? What does that even mean? Like, do I just chip off the doorknob and give it to him, right? Um, so that's why money, is a technology. It has a physical reality, right? It has to be divisible. I have to be able to get change, right? Can I use it to pay debts? I guess depends who you ask, right? I guess it could. Is it liquid? Not really, right? How do you sell a house? I've never sold it before, but I heard it's difficult. A lot of paperwork, a lot of time, a lot of lawyers, and a lot of fees, right? So you would lose in efficiency. It'd be like, a power plant. You don't want a power plant or a battery. You don't want a solar battery losing 50% of its power that it's storing every, right? Every time period, right? There's a physical reality that sits in, right? Is it durable and portable? No, right? I can't bring my house with me on vacation. Is it durable? Yeah, I guess, it can last a few decades, maybe even hundreds of years. Is it fungible? No, right? That's the thing. A house in Miami is going to be worth more than a house in Kansas, right? That's not the same for the US dollar or gold, right? It doesn't have that, it doesn't have that limit to it. Is it recognizable? Yeah, I guess that varies. But I guess that's not too important here. So moving back to the dollar now, right? US dollar is effectively good money if you think about it, right? Except for this one thing of store value, right? How do I store my value over time, right? If I, create a nice company and make the world a better place, I want to save that productivity. I don't want it to go to waste, right? I want to give it to my kids so we can all live happy, right? So looking at the store value is a pretty important thing to do. Um, So what should we do, right? What should the doctor, lawyer, or farmer do? They're providing such good products and services to society. They should be well paid for it, right? So, if you take a step back and analyze society, what has society deemed to be the appropriate decision to make, right? Okay, let me buy a home. House prices go up. I can sell it when I retire, right? Let me buy a home, right? So you're 5, 10 years into that journey, and you're like, let's take a doctor who's effectively well off, right? This is the example I'm going to use. Um, Dang, I bought this home, like I'm saving so much money, this is great. I live living below my means, but what do I do with this extra cash? Damn, I guess I'll buy a second home. Like, I don't even want to live in it. So I guess I'll just buy it and rent it out, not even thinking why I'm doing that in the first place, right? Okay, I've been running it out. I have all this cash flow. Now, what do I do now? man, do I buy a third home? I don't want to go through this headache, right? Okay, I'll buy some Apple stock, right? Not because I know who the CEO is or the projections they have in the future, or I believe in the mission of the company, because I have no choice, right? What do I do? Hold cash and get poor? Buy a second, the third home and go through the headache? Probably get banished by my community for being, greedful. Or do I buy Apple stock? I guess I'll buy Apple stock. And then, right, let's just look at gold. You're on Twitter, you see the chart of gold over time, right? Central banks buy gold, right? Big governments buy gold. Okay, I'm gonna buy some gold too. Not even thinking like, what am I buying gold for, right? So, kind of wrapping things up here. What's the issue with this, right? We're monetizing things that don't need to be monetized, right? I didn't need that second home, right? I didn't need that second home, but I had no choice to buy it because what do I do? Hold cash? I can't hold cash because the physical reality of that is that I'll get poor. So, can't blame the person, right? Blame the system. And the reason why that's a problem is because, the mom and pop was supposed to buy that house, right? The person who's up and coming, right? So for you, the house is only worth 200 grand, but you had no choice. You didn't know what else to do with your money. So you bought it for 250, 300. So now you're raising the prices of the community without there being any productivity, right? There wasn't a new manufacturing plant. People didn't get richer, like the land didn't become more fertile, right? Then again, it is what it is. This is how our society is built. Then again, I don't blame the person. I blame, what's happening under the hood, right? Now, I didn't buy Apple stock because the company is undervalued and I believe in the mission and I know, the founder or whatever, right? And a quick side note, I studied finance in college. So you could technically look at a stock, put a calculation and use mathematics and be like, okay, this stock's supposed to be worth $10. But you look at the stock market today, everything is overvalued. You can't see my hand, but everything is overvalued. It's over the price. And it rarely comes back to what it should be, right? Here and there, right? Recently there's been some deep crashes, right? But that's what it takes. It rarely comes back to the value. It's because, people like us, our society is built to where people invest in Apple for effectively no reason, right? Um, Same thing with gold, right? I think people say, "Oh, I invested gold because of the jewelry market." The jewelry market is worth like 500 billion a year or something like that, right? Meanwhile, the market cap for gold is 17 trillion, right? So there's that premium, right? There's a premium there, right? That's because people are saving there. They don't know what else to do with their money, right? And what this called is monetizing, right? We're monetized homes, we've monetized cars, we monetized watches, we monetized gold, we've monetized healthcare, we've monetized farmland, and and it is what it is, right? A lot of people blame BlackRock for buying everything, but what are they supposed to do, right? If I'm a billionaire, I give a billy to BlackRock. BlackRock's like, damn, okay. I mean, I guess we'll buy some Apple stock. We'll buy some rental homes, right? We don't know what else to do with it. So then again, I'm a proponent of blame the system, not the person, because incentives kind of drive everything, drive a lot. But then again, how do we solve this, right? And that's where I'll stop here, and we'll continue some things further. But something to think about. In conclusion, money is a technology, right? Don't look at it as something that somebody tells you to, something that somebody tells you. Because then again, there's a physical reality to where you store your money, right? If I jump off the cliff in a banana, I die. If I jump off the cliff with some propellers, I may fly, right? I may live. I may be able to fly over to the next town. But yeah, that's it for now. Thanks y'all for tuned in. For those that tuned in, and peace out.